Hello, and we are back. I am Ajo to in Love with your AEW Dynamite review for now. We are in August for August 2nd, 2023 edition. A rebound week. Certainly, last week's AEW Dynamite. Um, yeah, some good stuff happened on Dynamite on Wednesday. We do have a match now announced. The main event, seemingly for AEW All In at the end of this month. MJF for Sam Cole. This whole saga with them is continuing on. Um, you know, there's a contract that was signed. Um, you know, a few interesting ways to see how they go about the split between the friendship on screen. You know, we saw on Wednesday with Roderick Strong and the Kingdom, you know, Adam Cole's, or one of Adam Cole's former factions in Ring of Honor before he joined the Bullet Club. You know, there's a few interesting ways they could go about it. Because you have them, you have the contract, you have MJF, you have Kyle O'Reilly, who we don't know the status of and when he'll be back off his neck-ish surgery, but we'll see. But we have a few different roads to get to the split. Um, and the last is keeping us guessing, which I like to see first and foremost. Um, but yeah, we got that. Um, we got the Elite with the Young Bucks, Hangman, and K Omega. They have re-signed within AEW. So yeah, um, great for AEW. You know, obviously Cody was a blow. Fortunate that he went to WWE, but first and foremost, while it's unfortunate, the biggest thing was to have the Elite, re-sign, and thus they have. So, great to see. Yeah. So we got that. I mean, the core of The core of what brought or what started AEW, going back to that pep rally in late 2018 to 2019 when it started, were the Elite, K Omega, the Bucks, Hangman, Cody, and Chris Jericho. Those were the main guys that really started this whole jump for AEW, along with, playing with the guys who have been here since day one, you know, Lucha Brothers, best friends, etc. But alas, with the core being re-signed, you know, them not possibly jumping ship, it's only a good thing. Um, so yeah, um, great to see. You know, I mean, with Collision being the better show, seemingly, the last number of weeks, besides Blood Guts. Collision has taken a step up on Dynamite. And I feel like now, after taking a week off, for the Elite, now with them back, can only see it as a plus for Dynamite and them and their objective to make probably Dynamite better than Collision the way it started and have it be competition between the two shows, which can only help AEW. But yeah, we got that. Um, and lastly, before you know get into review, Rob Van Dam. Yes, Rob Van Dam. RVD, the whole effing show. He made his AEW debut on Dynamite Wednesday. Uh, when he came out in defense of Jarrett's old friend and rival Jerry Lynn against Jack Perry in a segment, and he confronted um, Jack Perry and later challenged him for a match for next week for the FTW title, and possibly retiring it. You know, I saw a thing the other day on social media that said some of the rumor matches for All In were RVD for Jack Perry, Jeff Jarrett for Guerrero, among few. And the fact that we're getting that match next week, not All In, works because look, this is whether you love AEW, you're a wrestling fan in general, or you're a WWE shill. Fact is, this AEW's biggest show with its biggest audience, and the fact is, if it should be about the talent that have busted their butts off for years to help make AEW what it is, not bring in uh, showcase guys that haven't been there as much or really at all. And RVD, I'm obviously a fan of what he had done in ECW and WWE, but just the fact that you know a 50-year-old RVD against Shaq Perry's not really in a match, taking spot away on that show. It's not really all in or AEW like. So there's that. Jeff Jarrett vs Grado, obviously a bit familiar with Grado, and Jeff. I already know about Jeff Jarrett and his time with WCW and TNA when TNA was at peak. Grado saw him for a bit of time in TNA. Um, and that match, just in general, is not AEW ish. Um, all due respect to Jeff Jarrett and Grado, but in 2023, that's just not a match. Uh, Great match in general to look forward to. So just hopefully that stuff, those other weird matches don't come to fruition. But yeah, RVD, good, and next week can't argue, should be good. Uh, and if seriously, I would want Jack Perry to win, but at the same time, I'm just not really liking the FTW title too much on television. So at the same time, I like RVD. I even thought the idea that as soon as Jack won it, should put in the trash in front of Taz. That wasn't the case. Um, but if RVD is going to retire it with a win, then I kind of like RVD to win next week. Some weird fashion. But we'll see how it goes for next week. We'll see. But with that out of the way, let's get into the review. Um, Again, thank you guys for joining me. Guys know where to find the subscription box or button in the corner if you're new. Uh, Click that to find out videos on the channel. Find out when notification bell as well to find out when post my videos. I realize I've been a bit late as of late, but luckily with my schedule, uh, should be opening up a bit more. Uh, should be back on back to normal this week. Uh, but yes, I did post my Collision review the other day. So if you have not seen that, it's up on the channel. Uh, which I posted on Sunday, late Sunday, early Monday. So find that, but hear about Dynamite. So let's get started. So start out with Chris Jericho versus Konosuke Takeshita versus Dan Garcia and Sammy Guevara. This more played into story of, is Chris Jericho gonna stay with the JS or side with Don Callis' family? This more added to the narrative of, or I'd say that Jericho is gonna eventually side with Don Callis. Because we kind of feel it's coming. Um, this match is alright, nothing too major, but it was a good way to open the show. So basically, Garcia and Guevara make a good tandem. And, if you want to make them babyface and make them turn slowly but surely, match like this will certainly catch the eye of the audience and make them turn heads. So, Sammy got the hot tag in after first Jericho did have some exchange with Guevara and Garcia with strikes back and forth. Eventually, after a beatdown on Garcia, Sammy got the hot tag. And Topes on the outside, both Takeshita and Jericho. Back in the ring, he had a frog splash on Takeshita for a near fall. Then Jericho came back in the ring. He had a Spanish fly on him for a two. Konosuke trying to bond with Jericho. He actually locked in the walls of Takeshita, he said. His version of the Lion Tamer. Um, Bit homage to hopefully a new member of Don Gallows' family. Jericho went for line salt, but ultimately only for two. Sammy fired back, hit a shooting star, and basically caught Takeshita with his forearm on the outside. Um, and so that looked tough for Takeshita. May have just been, out of little missed timing, but yeah. So, anyways, so Garcia, he locked in the Dragon Tamer, hence his sharpshooter on Jericho. Floyd the Bat was in the corner, and Don Callis, behind the referee's back, he clocked Garcia in the back of the head, or on the top of the head, with the bat, and to the dismay of Chris Jericho, but Callis was just telling Jericho to make the cover, and Jericho followed up for and made the pin, and Jericho and Takeshita got the win with conflicted Jericho. So obviously Garcia and Guevara was frustrated by the means that happened. So yeah. Afterwards, Nate Paquette tried to get a word in with Chris Jericho backstage. And Matt Menard, we know, can be very jokingly, very comedic, but the last couple times we've seen him, he's been serious. And then next week there will be a JS mandatory meeting, and that you better be there. Jericho stared at him, but conflicted, and basically walked away, walked off. So here's how this is gonna go. You know, I'm to believe Jericho is gonna be some way somehow on the card for All In. I mean, seeing Will Ospreay's name being thrown around. Um, I mean, We'll see. We all can agree that Chris Jericho and Will Ospreay would not be a great match this day and age. Uh, I mean, Ospreay, pretty difficult for him to have a bad match these days, but you know, the prime match would be Ospreay vs Omega Part 3. If you had to pick the best match for Ospreay at All In, now, if you do not want to go about this match, because I know Tony Khan likes to, when it comes to pay-per-views, try to get as many people on the show just because, pay-per-view and not everyone, or there's not as many pay-per-views on the year for AEW, despite the rumors. But with the way that there's All Out next week, I think they can afford. Yeah, Tony Khan has to go into this probably knowing that, okay, he has to have a smaller card for All In than he probably would have wanted, because if you get pretty much this, if you get pretty much everyone on All In and All Out, pretty much everyone's going to be burned out a bit for a few weeks. Going to London, and then next week you're in Chicago for the big event. So if can narrow down the card a bit, maybe like 7 matches at most, it would certainly be a plus. Obviously including the match that was made tonight. But I don't know. You know, if I had to guess, I don't know. Maybe Ospreay and Jericho versus. They could do like a big tag team match, it seems, with Ospreay, Jericho, Takeshita, maybe against Omega, and like a trio of Omega, Matt Menard, and Angel Parker. I don't know. It's it's gonna be interesting. We still have good fair share. I mean, we have still 4 weeks of Collision left, along with 3 weeks left of All In. So we'll see. Jack Perry, who is up next. So he was introduced by Tony Schiavone, and I will say the Beethoven music is certainly different. See, the thing is, I like it, but I don't know if it's the right fit for him. that's just the thing. You know, it's good, but good for him. I mean, Mike Ruckus, yeah, arguably the best um, music specialer in the business, and he could find some way to remix it or do something to make it sound a little bit more of a fit for Jack Perry. We'll see. But he was out there, took the mic from Tony Schiavone, told Jerry Lynn to get out of here and take his ass whooping like a man. Or Jerry, he was out there and knowing how people and he would love to go down there and teach them a lesson, but if anything, that'd be child abuse. Now, unfortunately, with all the screws and stuff in his neck, there was no doctor alive that would clear him to get back in the ring. So, but he made some calls, and there is one guy, one friend that was also in ECW and just so happens to still be active. So, well, we heard Walk by Pantera. In old school, like, I mean, RVD's themes have always been interesting. You gotta say, you know, in ECW is Walk by Pantera. In WWE, he had his one of a kind theme. TNA, I love the whole Evans show theme he had then. Um, but yeah, RVD's always had fun theme music, and so that was fun to hear. He was out there, good shape for his 50s. You know, he was out there, basically had a little stare down with Jack. Jack basically walked off. So RVD and Jerry Lynn, they were in the ring. They shook hands. Had a little moment. Perry tried for a cheap shot with a chair. RVD ducked, went for his spin kick uh, to the chair for Perry. Perry ducked out of the way, left. Next thing you know, he was in the ring. He was in the crowd. Um, Carly behind a little girl next to some mom. And one of those things in that contract, banned things that were you can't mingle with the crowd or interact with the crowd anymore. It was definitely cleared. Let's just think we can agree that that was cleared. But yeah. hilarious. But yeah, definitely glad to see, know, RVD, nostalgia, you know, walk by Pantera. Yeah, good. Not much harm to the segment, so solid. We had little vignettes with Tony Storm and Hikaru Shida. I have their main event tonight, so yeah. Next, we had Trent Barreta vs Pentagon Penta Zero Miero vs Jon Moxley. Triple threat, anything goes. This was craziness. As you expect, Moxley, here's the thing. We saw Blood and Guts just a couple weeks ago. Now, this wasn't as long as grueling or violent as that, but it was still pretty violent and, to the crowd, I get it because, we did see Blood and Guts just a couple weeks ago. Now we get this match. Uh, I mean, to me, it was good. Personally, just because, it just felt like the vibe of, the 200th edition of Dynamite, tell it as three homegrown guys. Moxley's been there since the first Double or Nothing. Trent been there since our Penta. You know, all these guys have been there since the start. So you try to build off that. You know, we'll see. But yeah, this match, depending who you are, I'd say it was good. So Penta was flying around the start. He hit tope on Trent. He brought in a trash can and the trash can lid. Used trash can a bit on Moxley and Trent. But Moxley managed to get a barbed wire bat or 2x4. So Trent Moxley actually drove each other a couple times into this barbed wire weapon in the middle of the ring. There were a couple tables set up on the outside. And Trent hit a superplex to Moxley off the top through these tables. Then we basically went to break. So back we go. So there's a table set up. Ay. Sadly, this gave me vibe. Now, it wasn't as dangerous, but still. So, Penta gave Trent off the top a destroyer through a table. Took him out for time being, but that spot remind me of that spot at Supercard of Honor. Um, where in that tag team ladder match, Penta hit a destroyer to Dante Martin off a ladder through two tables, and Dante had devastating ankle foot injury. I mean, just gave me vibes of that. Luckily, Trent was okay, but still. So right off that, there was another table set up in the opposite corner. Moxley tried to toss Penta through his table, but Penta stopped, and Moxley just drove him through his table. So there was that. Um, so Moxley got a bag, and one of a couple things. Ultimately, there will be thumbtacks in the middle of the ring. So Moxley wound up going through these tags a couple times. So Moxley hit a pile driver on Penta on these tags, which got him through the tags much more than it did Penta. Um, but Penta kicked out. Then he went for the same on Trent. Trent went after they went for exchange, hit a ground zero reverse tombstone on Moxley on the tax. Penta broke up, hitting Trent in the head with trash can. So anyway, then they went exchange strikes back and forth. Penta was set off the ropes. Moxley hit a paradigm shift on Penta, but Trent followed up with a running knee, knocking Moxley back into his sacks, and Trent follow up for the win. And, it's been a while since we've seen Trent get a victory on TV, so that was certainly a surprise and a refresher to the crowd. But yeah. So afterwards, Moxley got Trent a chokehold. Claudio and Yuta made their way down, but Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy intercepted them and got the attack. Um, yeah. So there was a brawl near ringside. DCC got the upper hand until Trent hit a dive onto the outside. Back in the ring, Orange Cassidy hit the orange punch on Moxley, had him staggered, and Chuck Taylor called out the BCC and said, well, this match is nothing. So how about you guys meet us on Rampage Friday in Jacksonville? And it's tonight um, in the parking lot. Reminiscent because early in the show, Tony Khan thanked everyone for the 200th edition of Dynamite and went over some of the moments. And one of the moments that was shown was the great parking lot fight between the best friends and Proud and Powerful, Santana Ortiz, in Jacksonville in 2020. And going at it again, Trent, and probably gonna get a appearance from Sue in the minivan. Just a guess, but yeah, it should be good. Uh, we may see a trios match with best friends versus the BCC, or, well, we'll have to see if how healthy will Brian Danielson be. Of course, I'd like him to be in a big match, providing he's healthy at All In. So we'll see. But maybe Moxley will be the one to take the title off Orange. I mean, I mean, I don't mind it because look, it's clear how much Tony Khan loves Orange Cassidy, and if you want a guy to take the title off him because he's had some reign, and rather be someone up and coming, but either way, someone to provide more shine to the title. And who bigger than Moxley, I'd say. Rob Van Dam, backstage with Renee, said why he's here is the challenge will end because Jack Perry's been running his mouth. Said that next week he wants to challenge Perry for the FTW title, saying that maybe after he wins, he'll retire it because it won't get any bigger than with RVD. Yeah, we shall see. MJF. MJF. This was some segment. So he was out there. It's some unique expressions. He was like, well, I see there's some devil worshippers in the house tonight. Said, well, he went more open, also told a story about his past, how he said he struggles with ADD and he actually got an ADD chant and talked about another rejection something disorder and first time I heard about that but he brought up a story about how when he was little how guys would throw quarters at him and how one day he liked to get back at him um, and he liked to think this is the way to get back at him because he's making it big and tell the crowd, hey, I'm still a scumbag. But hey, I want to be your scumbag. So he talked about vulnerability and how there's one guy shown, hey, it's okay to be vulnerable. So talked about Adam Cole, told him to come out, and Cole came out there with no music. I mean, I like when they it's hand in hand. I like when they come out with more no music because it feels more realistic and but at the same time, I'm okay so on with, hearing music obviously. So Cole is out there, unique expression said, well, hey, I used to be a jerk because I thought it was the way I had to be to become the type of man that I am. But I said, well, he's probably Max saying, you know, he's becoming the man he should be, and then everyone knows that there's a good soul in him. So MJF then talked about his promise to Adam Cole for a top match, and he said, "Well, you don't deserve a match," and that was Dick Adam MJF coming back out. So then he gestured towards ringside and he got a contract and he was like, I mean, you don't deserve just any type of match. You deserve the match. And from the biggest crowd, the biggest show in professional wrestling, um, in the main event of All In, MJF versus Adam Cole for the AEW World title. I mean, so Cole signed it, just rejoice, and Adam Cole was like, I love you, man. So they embrace, and MJF was like, you know I'm gonna win. So then they pose on turnbuckles, and the graphic was shown for All In, August 27th. MJF versus Adam Cole. Great. We finally have a match. And it's the presumptive main event. MJF versus Adam Cole. Um, Afterwards, in the back, Roderick Strong was shown berserk, throwing stuff around. And the Kingdom, Mike Bennett and Matt Taven, they show up. And so why are you surprised? You know, saying Adam Cole forgets his friends. Hence, basically ditched them um, for the Bullet Club. So, and Ring of Honor. So, interesting. I mean, if they were shown, I'd like to think they're going to play a role in this. The Kingdom, we'll see. Like I said, there's a number of ways they could go about this for All In. So we'll see. I like it. It's keeping us guessing. And we'll see come collision if more matches will be added. Well, last we still have a few weeks to go, so the Elite for Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, Sanam Singh. Now, for those who didn't see it, was a bit hilarious. So they were posing in. So first of all, good to see the Elite back. So for Jeff Jarrett and crew, they were posing on the stage, and I'm guessing Sanam Singh posed on the wrong side of Jeff Jarrett because Jarrett said wrong side, dumbass. Um, so yeah, because Jarrett has his guitar, and yeah. So, anyways, so match was fine. I had a bunch of shenanigans, so Aaron tried to get involved. Brandon Cutler, he sprayed cold spray at her, basically saging off her. Hangman was at ringside and clobbered Sanjay Dutt with a buckshot lariat. The Young Bucks hit a super kick party on Saddam Singh, taking him out. Jay Lethal was followed up by getting hit with a one-winged angel by Omega, and they got the victory. 1, 2, 3, and the Elite get the victory. Then, so Hangman was there, and Kenny was like, tell him the big news, Hangman. Tell him what's on your mind, buddy. And Hangman took the mic and said, well, guys may have noticed, but they announced that the Elite have re-signed with All Elite Wrestling, and said, well, we are thrilled to be on the 200th edition of Dynamite, and here's to the next 200. And Kay was like, yes, you're going to see us for good for a long while still, whether it be Dynamite, Ring of Honor, Rampage, or hell, even Collision. You'll see us, but until next time, my spirit bid you adieu, goodbye, and good night. Bang. So yeah, great that the Elite have re-signed with AEW. They're most of the main core, the main foundation of AEW, and just overall great. So the fact that they mentioned Collision and the fact that they re-signed likely means that the CM Punk beef probably isn't as bad as some people are claiming it to be, or claimed it to be on social media. And we have not seen them on TV together, really. So, but I imagine eventually we'll get that feud. You know, Omega, Punk, Bucks, FTR again. We'll see. But overall, great news for AEW and the Elites. This was great. Mogul Embassy and Swerve. So last week, when AR Fox joined with the Mogul Embassy, it felt random because we haven't seen AR Fox in weeks on TV, and just how everything was last week, it felt off. This week, though, with the explanation and the segment, it was just brilliant how it went down. So, we got Air Fox, Prince Nana, and Swerve Strickland. They all paid a visit to Nick Wayne's home as dojo, pretty much, where he trains to wrestle. And so he was in his garage, you know, running with a few guys. And Nick Wayne's like, "What are you guys doing here?" And want to see what training's all about. So Swerve and Fox basically ambush, Wayne and the guys he was training with, beat him up. So Swerve was like, come on. That's how we got train me. So there was this picture, framed picture, last picture of Nick Wayne and his late father. And they smashed the photo or frame of him and his father over Nick Wayne's head. And he was gashed so good. So you notice he's trying to call someone. He's like, "Who are you gonna call? Darby?" Like, no, call him. So they tried wiping his face for face recognition. That didn't work. So they pretty much forced Nick Wayne with blood over his face, call Darby, unlock your phone. So called Darby with Swerve on the phone, and Darby picked up. He was like, "Hey Wayne, how's it going?" Air Fox responded, "No, this is Nick. This Air Fox." And Swerve, he's like, Darby was confused and shocked, and Darby or Swerve was like, "No, you're gonna talk, or bad things are gonna happen." So Swerve's like, "Wow, you know how easy it is to make a phone call?" He's like, "How you could have called Fox one time, you know, when he got to AEW. You had to wait till he arrived to talk to him and said, 'We're the ghosts of your past, and we're going to continue to haunt you.' Better believe it." And lastly, so they hung up, took the picture of Nick Wayne and his father, and sort of like, I'm gonna put it down by the ring, by where you found it, by when you got the news of when you lost him. Then they cut to Wayne, who was a bloody mess, as they left. I mean, this was great. It's great. Got heat. The story, you know, if we're getting some sort of tag team match, because Christian did say, before you challenge for the TNT Championship, you gotta take care of Swerve and AR Fox first. So we may get a tag team match out all in between these four, and we'll see. After this segment, I was hyped for it. So go on AEW, Girl Swerve. I mean, just great. Aussie Open versus Vikingo and Kommander. Screw Kyle Fletcher. I mean, I love Aussie Open. I love United Empire. They are great. But yeah, you know, I would have been surprised if we got a certain Sky's name got chanted during this match. That's just me. Or a few chants, but either way. But Kiko and Kommander, they work well together. And yeah, this was solid. Now I will say, Chris Summer is my fave, but Sky Blue is great too. Nonetheless, Kommander and Vikingo, they hit moonsaults to the outside after walking the tightrope. They hit a double 450 splash. Uh, yeah, they looked good together as a team. Now I think Kommander is all elite. Vikingo is obviously the AAA champion, but yeah, so finally Aussie Open got the advantage back. They hit the Coriolis on Kommander for the win, and they retained the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. Go on them. Go on them. Main event. Shida vs Toni Storm for the AEW Women's World Championship. Match was good. Now, with what was going into it, with it being Dynamite 200, and with the news, what's been floating around the last week about make women's wrestling better, it's been a case for not only AEW but for WWE as well. Not surprised by the outcome, although at first it popped me, but still not too surprised. So, plus, they haven't really done much with Toni Storm and the Outcasts. It's just not been great. So, anywho, so they were fighting on the outside, back in ring. She hit the 10 punches, hit Biora for a 2. Storm got the advantage, hit the hip attack in the corner, followed a big DT for a near fall. Shida hit a big D, followed a Falcon Arrow, but for a near fall. So, Soraya and Ruby Soul, they were both on the outside. Soraya slid in Shida's kendo stick. Toni Storm was daring her to hit her with it for the DQ. But instead, Shida hit both Soraya and Soul with the kendo stick, taking them out of the equation. While the referee went to put away the kendo stick, Toni sprayed her in the face with spray paint and hit the Storm Zero, but only for a near fall. Toni was shocked, would go for it again, but she countered for a high sack roll up and got the win. And Hikaru Shida is a 2-time Women's World Champion. Again, with all this, make women's wrestling better. Talked about Shida never really getting a true reign because she was. Her title reign was basically during the pandemic. Basically. I mean, she won it at Double or Nothing in 2020. A year later, she lost it to Britt Baker. So, I mean, yeah. But now it's obviously a question of how do they follow up? How do they? Certainly a question, but we'll see. Anyways, guys, thank you all. Uh, Dynamite was much better this week. Uh, so we'll see what happens on Collision Saturday night. See how they follow up the build towards All In. So we'll see. But looks to be another solid show. Um, we got the tag titles on the line. We got, Punk versus Ricky Starks for the real World Championship. We'll see. If possible, I may do a SummerSlam review as well. Looks to be a good card. Well, we'll see. At least I'll have a Collision review for Sunday. But if possible, I'll have a SummerSlam review for Monday as well. So keep that in mind. Well, with that, guys, take care. Give this video a like. Click the like button. And thank you all. See you all next time. Peace.